All right, so the scope I've got on this thing is just one I've taken off one of my other rifles. It's an old one I had. It's a Vortex Viper PST Gen 2. This is just a 3 to 15, but it's got a parallax that allows you to go down to 20 yards. So I figured this would be a good option. So now I have zero idea where this is even gonna possibly hit. And because the way these air rifles are set up, you can't look through the bore to get a rough bore sighting. So we'll just kind of take a few shots here and see if we can figure out where the heck we're going. So I've got a target set up at 50 yards. I mentioned we'll set off these first pellets and we'll see if we can get just kind of an initial zero and see what things look like. Okay, so bolt open to clear the plunger. Magazine in, snaps in place. Now I will be honest, the one thing that's been kind of irritating is this magazine's a little bit tricky to get lined up. So did get it in there though. All right, so I'm gonna back the power all the way off, and like I said, we're just gonna kind of hope for some splash and see if I can even get any idea where this thing's hitting to start with. Okay, actually fairly close there, about 30 yards. But my power is maxed on my scope. Okay, so interesting thing about these. I was playing with the barrel, and it's got kind of a sound reducer here on the end, and what this is actually kind of a sleeved barrel. So you've got your main barrel underneath, you've got essentially just a barrel liner to cover the outside, and then you've got this compensator on the top. So in playing with that, there's nothing supporting it really going into the rifle. So with that, turning that sleeve and that compensator and things changed my point of impact at 40 yards by like 30 MOA, like insane amount. So I turned it to where it's pretty close. I think now we can get a good zero on it, but that's interesting. It's got me a little bit concerned on how well this is gonna be able to hold a zero going forward if the barrel gets bumped. It's very non-robust, I guess could be the best way to say. I haven't dove into it. I don't know exactly how it's connected in here, but that's an insane amount of shift by rotating that compensator and that sleeve. Okay, so now it took about 20 shots to figure out what was going on, because I thought my scope was maxed out. Playing with the barrel did adjust it enough to where I'm hitting pretty close. Now we'll actually go ahead and I'll start shooting the target at 50 yards, and we'll actually establish a true zero and then see what happens. Like I said, I mean, overall, that's fairly concerning that it had that much shift. I mean, if you guys are used to picking up your rifles by the barrel and expecting them to hold a zero, which I do all the time, this, we'll have to see how this goes. I don't know if it's the rotating it. I don't know if it's the moving in it and just won't hold position. I mean, we'll have to look into this a little bit more and see actually what's going on. But that is one area that's got me a little surprised to start, honestly. All right, parallax at 50, scope's all ready to go. All right, well, there it is. This is 50 yards. So here was kind of those first two that I wanted to check. Finally found them dialed up. And that's 3 right there. 1, 2, 3. Like I said, it was a little bit high, a little bit left. I just dialed that over. We'll start shooting some of these other dots. Okay, so we should be fairly 0 to 50 yards. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shoot a few 3-shot groups right now. Let's just see kind of how it holds and maintains and see what it looks like down on target. overall the groups are holding fairly well. I mean, granted, for being just the pellets that came with it. So one thing I don't know is how well and how consistent these air pressures maintain, or if you need to give it a little bit of time and a break in between shots. I don't know if it refills immediately or if it takes a second to kind of reset back up, but it seems to be holding pretty good. I have just kind of drifted. It looks a little bit off. I did over dial maybe a hair. We'll come back a couple and back up, but let's see. Got a few rounds of the magazine. Let's do maybe like a 10-shot group and just see kind of what this thing holds and maintains. So interestingly enough, with these, you don't really have to worry about the barrel overheating, obviously, because there's no explosion, there's no containment of any combustion, so your barrel's not going to overheat. But what will happen, and how much of an effect it has, I don't exactly know yet, is that with the release of the compressed air, you're actually going to be cooling your barrel instead of heating it. Just like when you've got an aerosol can, you hit the spray and it cools down because you're releasing that pressure. Just the properties of pressure and air laws, you're gonna lose some heat in that. So with that, you're gonna be actually cooling the barrel as you shoot. Like I said, how much of an effect that has, I don't actually know yet, but that is just kind of an interesting aspect and some of the differences that these have compared to your traditional firearms that you're probably used to. But let's see, let's start with the 5. We'll see how it goes, and then maybe do a 10-shot group and just see how well this thing will hold for us. Right in the black on the first. Okay, so there's 5. These things are stupid accurate. Okay, so that's pretty impressive for 5 shots at 50 yards. It did look like it started to walk down. I don't know if that had to do with kind of the speed at which I shoot. Maybe I'll take a little bit more time on these next few shots and see how it holds up. I got a few pellets left. Let's end this magazine out. Make sure the tanks can recharge. Like I said, I don't know if it has an effect yet. I have no idea how much these things affect these. These are all totally new to me, but let's just slow down, take some shots. My air pressure is still good. Everything's all right. Jumped off a little bit on that one. Oh, and that's it. So it's got a mag lock when you're out. So end up with 9 shots. Let's go take a look at it and see how they look. Okay, so take a look at that. So that was the first initially after I dialed. Looks like they stacked pretty well. And then right here, it kind of moved a little bit low, and we're hanging a little bit low right here too. So what I did is I moved back up about another half MOA or so. And then this was the last resulting 9 shots. I mean, overall, that is very impressive. I did have one that kind of jumped off over here a little bit. Don't know if I pulled it or something, but overall, that would be a decent group for a 22. I mean, I'm more than happy with that for what this thing is. That's very impressive. All right, so now what I've got left on the target is I've got 3 half-inch circles there at the bottom of the box. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna load up 3 pellets, 3 targets. Let's see how it holds doing that. See, all those ones, we're holding a little left. Right a quarter. Okay. And I mean, as you can tell, the sound on this thing's ridiculous. You don't need earplugs. I mean, it's as quiet as a suppressed 22. I mean, this is pretty cool. All right, so overall, very happy, very impressed. I mean, the results have been fantastic just from this initial outing. So I am missing a few things to kind of get a good ballistic profile of this rifle today. I need a chronograph to get my accurate pellet velocity, which I didn't bring with me today. I wanted to get just a rough zero. And then once we do that, we can start taking it out to 100, maybe 150 yards, see how much drop it gets at those distances, and see if we can come back and build a ballistic profile for this rifle, because I've got some other videos. We'll be talking about the ballistics of these air rifles, how they compare to, come here, more standard firearms. So we'll be looking at those a little bit, and that'll give us some good data and stuff to go over. So stay tuned for those. We'll be going over that, but there's definitely more to come from this thing. First day out, got it sighted in. The barrel concerns me a little bit, but the group's held. We'll see how it holds up over time, make sure we maintain zero. But overall, I'm very happy and very impressed with this thing. So great start, great day. Appreciate it, everybody.